Well, we begin with some unfortunate news, and at least 40 people have died at a cargo crash site in South Sudan. Media reports say the plane crashed shortly after takeoff from the capital, Juba. A crew member and a child on board survived. Presidential spokesman Ateni Wek has said an unknown number of people were killed on the ground as the plane crashed near where some fishermen were working. Earlier, South Sudanese media had said the cargo plane carried 5 Russian crew and 7 passengers. The National Assembly's Public Accounts Committee has now summoned Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru. The committee's summons come after members of the National Assembly questioned inflated expenses in her office. The expenses were discovered as the committee scrutinized the ministry's file of replies to the queries raised in the Auditor General's report. This report covers the government's accounts for the 2013-2014 financial year.
I am required by law that when I am called by Parliament to honor the call. So if I will go to Parliament, but they will only ask me questions related to my role. I cannot present accounts of the ministry because I'm not the accounting officer. But to appear to answer questions, that I will do.
The embattled Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru is expected to appear before the Parliamentary Watchdog Committee. The Public Accounts Committee this afternoon will PAC summoned Waiguru after Devolution Principal Secretary Peter Mangiti accidentally tabled a document that revealed wanton wastage and pilferage of public funds in the Devolution Ministry. The document showed the ministry procured items at inflated prices. The Principal Secretary was unable to explain to the expenditure of the 8 billion shillings of the National Youth Service is being asked to account for 6 billion shillings. Failure to offer explanations on these expenditures and the wanton wastage resulted to the Principal Secretary and his entire team of nearly 30 officers being kicked out of Parliament to reappear today alongside the Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru to offer insights into the levels of corruption eating the ministry. Well, Timothy Otieno now joins us from our City Center studios. He was at a press conference where Anne Waiguru, of course, was on the defense. Thank you very much, Timothy, for joining us. Maybe you can just bring us up to speed with what exactly did Anne Waiguru say in her defense?
Well, thank you very much, Betty. Good afternoon. Indeed, Anne Waiguru coming out strong and defending herself and saying she will not step aside, rather, because she says she has nothing to step aside for. In fact, in the press conference, she shifted blame from herself and portioned it to the procurement officer as well as the accounting officer in her ministry, insisting that as the cabinet secretary, she does not have the sole authority to scrutinize every procurement exercise that is undertaken in a devolution ministry, Betty. But this afternoon she did acknowledge that, as you heard from the clip, that she is going to present herself before the Parliamentary Accounts Committee that is chaired by Honorable Nicholas Gumbo, and she will answer questions only up to the point, questions relating to her role as the Cabinet Secretary and not as anything that involves the procurement office as well as the accounts office, insisting that there are officials in charge of those respective departments, and therefore they are the ones who need to be asked the tough questions regarding the misappropriation of funds. And just to remind Kenyans of what the controversy is all about, of course it started with the NYS scandal, where about 791 million shillings may have been lost in procurement dealings. The question that most Kenyans will be asking, of course, is how come the Cabinet Secretary has not been able to step aside or has not been requested to step aside to allow for further investigations. Remember, Betty, there were other cabinet secretaries whose names had been mentioned by the EACC report, and they were requested to step aside to allow for investigations. But in regards to this afternoon, Betty, Waiguru says she is ready to answer any questions that come her way, and as far as she's concerned, her name is clean, Betty.
Right. Thank you very much, Timothy Otieno, giving us the details of just what the CS for devolution, Ann Waiguru, had to say to clear her name. We will have a statement, the statement that she actually read out and posted on her Facebook page. She put up a defense against corruption allegations in the ministry, while the Public Accounts Committee sermons notwithstanding. Ann Waiguru, in a statement posted on her Facebook page, blames the media for attacking her character and not distinguishing her role as cabinet secretary from that of accounting officers. Well, or AIE holders of government departments. Well, Waiguru writes, and I quote, "The last 3 months have witnessed incessant media attacks on my character on the issue of corruption in the Ministry of Devolution and its agencies, including the NYS. What is shocking is a deliberate refusal to recognize my role as a CS and that of officers who are either accounting officers or AIE holders in government departments, both by law and in practice. I do not procure, I do not purchase anything for the ministry. I don't sign or negotiate contracts where instances of possible malpractice has been brought to my attention. I have called investigative authorities. At no point has any investigation either by EACC, CID or any other body pointed to my personal engagement with corrupt deals." End of quote. Well, the devolution secretary claims she has been unfairly targeted in the war against corruption, while her counterparts are spared. In the statement, Waiguru further states, "It's amazing that whereas there are similar and more serious allegations of misuse of funds in many government departments, there is never the personalized level of attack on a CS that has been directed at me. Surely, this is no longer about the fight against corruption. It's calculated evil, vindictive and ill-intentioned. It's unfortunate destruction from the work the ministry has been doing in the last 2 years. She says, "I will continue to serve my country diligently as I have always done, for as long as I am given the trust to do so. And for the record, I have no such TV screen or piano in my office." That was her statement, of course, defending herself against corruption allegations against the Devolution and Planning Ministry. Let's just take a look at what she had to say earlier on.
One, the Constitution is very clear on the role of the minister and the role of the accounting officer. If you look at the Constitution, at section 226, it designates the role of the accounting officer, which is all matters finance. And in that section, section 2, it actually gives that role of reporting of the accounting officer to Parliament. And if you look at the PFM Act, it also gives the accounting officer the responsibility to report to the National Treasury. So on matters that have to do with procurement or finance, have nothing to do with a cabinet secretary. We do not get involved. In fact, if I was to get involved at all in procurement, it would be regular. So we don't procure, we don't look at price lists. Even the pen I use on my desk, and my colleague is here also, even has, nobody asks you whether you should buy it for this price or that price. So allegations is one thing, but there are facts also that we must depend on. And I think, and I would urge all of us to focus on what the facts are. The person who should be held responsible is the person who is the accounting officer. And then they are the ones to explain why they bought whatever they bought for whatever prices they bought them. As a matter of fact, until yesterday in Parliament, I wouldn't have known how much a biro costs because they don't bring the price list to the minister. The minister never sees them, you're never asked, and you're not consulted on those matters.
Let's shift gears a bit. And the General Secretary of the Nurses Union, Seth Panyako, has announced that health workers in Nairobi will from now henceforth resolve all work-related disputes with the county government out of court. Panyako further says his union has held talks with Nairobi Governor Evans Kidero and that the two have agreed to begin the harmonization process for all health workers. But Panyako has raised concern that the national government is not releasing funds meant for the free maternity services, not only for Nairobi government but also for the rest of the county across the counties across the country, and that he may soon lead health workers in demanding for the release of the funds.
We have discussed with the governor and we have agreed that harmonization must take place. The reason why it has not kicked off from Nairobi is that there have been other power brokers within the county government who did not want this union to represent workers, because it appears like some people in the county believe that this union is becoming so powerful so that it wants to actually remove the county government workers union from its place. We are not fighting to take our workers, we represent nurses. Sasa unasikia mambo ya pesa ya maternity hawapeleki kwa counties, inakaa afya house ikifanya nini? Iko maternity hapo afya house? Is the afya house a maternity hospital? What, they should release that money to the counties immediately. La sivyo tutaungana na counties tuvamie hiyo afya house, tuchukue hiyo pesa yote tupelekee wamama wetu huko kwa hospitali wapate huduma ya afya. Kwa nini pesa inakaa afya house na wamama wanazaa kwa hospitali za county? Hiyo pesa ya maternity inaitwa conditional grant, ipelekwe kwa hospitali za county. Hata kama kuna corruption, heri hiyo pesa iende, tuambiwe walikula na corruption ndio wakutane na wananchi on the ground.
Embattled Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria has told the Senate Special Committee investigating him that he is a victim of mischief, ill will and ulterior motives by Murang'a members of the County Assembly. Wairia argues he was not given an opportunity to defend himself at the County Assembly over the impeachment motion. The Murang'a governor claims the MCAs want him removed from office after he rejected their motion to be awarded 20 million shillings each in this year's budget for ward development. Oh, let's just listen into the proceedings at the Senate.
Page 027. There is a paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Mr. Kagoni, I don't know, you can count paragraph 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
From downwards?
No, up from top. You notice that the governor is telling the speaker in response to his letter. What is the governor telling? Just read it, a short paragraph. In response to the letter by the speaker, what is the governor telling the assembly? Through that paragraph, just read that paragraph.
From the materials supplied, we have been unable to discern any document that shows any nexus to the person of the governor and the alleged violations.
Go to the second paragraph, to that other paragraph, the next paragraph.
As such, in order for the enable us substantially respond, we request for further particulars and documents showing the governor's direct and personal liabilities on the matters that forms the basis of the alleged.
So the governor is asking for some documents to enable him substantively respond. Let me move on. As a representative of the assembly, do you have a copy of the Hansard, right?
Yes.
During the time when the motion was adopted, that shows that the governor appeared, correct? Or rather was invited, appeared or did not appear in Hansard, because I believe all this communication is captured in the Hansard, to show that in your understanding and pursuant to that letter from the speaker, that indeed the governor appeared, or was that information brought to the attention of the assembly at plenary regarding the right of the governor to be heard?
Mr. Chairman,
do you have the Hansard?
We have the Hansard that even this letter, the mover even alluded to this letter.
Proceedings there at the Senate over the embattled Murang'a Governor Mwangi wa Iria, who is on a campaign to against his impeachment. Well, let's shift gears and move on to something else that has been, of course, been renting the airways. And leaders from the North Rift region have asked the government to tame hate speech in the country. The leaders challenged the National Cohesion and Integration Commission to probe leaders spewing inflammatory remarks that could lead the country into chaos. They warned that the country was approaching an election period and incitement could spell anarchy for the nation.
Heavy price. Sababu ya ndimi zetu kama wanasiasa, sababu ya siasa za chuki, sababu ya siasa za kugawanya Wakenya kwa misingi ya kikabila. We will not go down that road again.
Kenya tumekaona kuna kabila ambayo ni takatifu na kuna kabila ambayo ni shenzi. Wakati inakuwa ile shenzi, wanapolisi wanatumwa kwenda kurokota mtu ndani. Lakini ile takatifu, hata akitukana mtu, hata akinyarosha mtu kofi, hakuna mtu ambaye anahusika. Naambia kwamba hata wakati wenu pia inadidimia.
What we say, you can ban this country or break this country. So we should be careful what we say as politicians.
Inji hii haiwezi endelea ukiwa na viongozi ambao wanaongea wazi kwa mambo ya chuki. Na ningeambia prosecutor achukue haya maanani. Ukitaka tu save hii nchi hii, wale wanaongea kama hawa, sheria ichukue mkono kabisa.
Kwa hivyo kanisa hapa tunakemea wale watu wanachochea watu, serikali kuu kufanya kazi.
Nandi Hills Member of Parliament, who is spearheading a second attempt to impeach Devolution Cabinet Secretary Anne Waiguru, claims he has lobbied 40 additional members of Parliament to initiate Waiguru's impeachment. Well, joining us from Parliament building is Hussein Mohammed with the latest development. Hussein, thank you very much for joining us. He has been quiet for quite some time now. Why now?
Well, Betty, he has been quiet. I think it was lobbying other members of Parliament to join him in the urge to impeach the CS Waiguru over the theft of NYS. Just to correct you, it's 41 MPs, 41 new members who have signed the petition to impeach the CS Waiguru. Speaking just now, we were speaking with the Nandi Hills MP, Alfred Ketel, who just finished a press conference. He said that 41 new members have signed the petition, now making it to be 141 members. He also claimed that 30 members are from the Upper Eastern and the Central Province. The Nandi Hills MP has also said that in case the CS Waiguru does not evict office in the next 7 days, they will evict. Just to quote him, he said that impeachment is a process, but the money being stolen every day. So if she does not resign by next week, the member said that he will lead thousands of people to evict Waiguru from office if she does not quit. Betty.
Hussein, maybe finally, Anne Waiguru gave an impassioned news alert and a reaction to, the things that she's calling a witch hunt by media and members of Parliament. Did Keter talk about this particular development from Anne Waiguru?
Actually, Betty, what Keter was saying is that members from the Jubilee Party who have now summoned CS Waiguru are supporting this petition, and he also said that the corruption is becoming a menace in this country, quoting the various money which has been stolen, including the 791 million, starting from the one which was stolen from the NYS, going to the Huduma centers. The Member of Parliament has also said that maybe the Jubilee people who have now summoned CS Waiguru are doing this just to make sure that there's no corruption in the country. He also said that, just to finalize, Betty, he said that by the end of next week, he's hoping that the President will urge CS Waiguru to step aside so that we can have someone else in the docket. Betty.
All right, thank you very much, Hussein Mohammed, for that report. Well, we want to take a short commercial break right now. News Desk will be back, and we have interesting stories, of course, about the Magufuli President-elect Magufuli, who will be going for his swearing. Actually, many presidents will actually be going for his swearing, including President Uhuru Kenyatta. We'll have all those details coming up shortly. Welcome back to KTN News Desk at 21 minutes past 1 o'clock Kenyan time. The family of a Form 2 student who died in school in a mysterious condition in Kinangop, Nyandarua County last week is now demanding justice. Kimuri High School management has termed the death of the 15-year-old as accidental after he fell while playing with his colleagues. But the family of Felix Omondi is alleging foul play, saying that their son was murdered through strangling by a Form 4 student. A group of students claim the student was murdered even as police moved in to question those who witnessed the incident. The suspect has since been sent away from school after the deceased classmates threatened to torture torch a dormitory where the Form 4 students sleep to avenge the murder. Trouble started on Thursday when the victim was involved in an altercation with a Form 4 boy around 6 a.m. over a cup of tea.
Kuchukua school fee. Sasa hapo nikawaambia munipeleke niende nione mtoto wangu na macho. Nikakuta mtoto amelala hapo na uniform na tishu kwa mfuko. Sikusema chochote tena, nikaenda nikaanguka kwa ile kitanda. Nikalia kabisa. Na kutoka hapo sijajua ukweli kenye imeua mtoto yangu mpaka leo hii. Sijajua. Na kama ni hiyo shule ndio iko na hiyo shida ya kulea watoto wenye wanahua wenzao, hiyo shule ichukulia hatua.
Wakati wanachukua chai, ule kijana akakuja kuwasalimia. Akasalimia huyu rafiki ya Felix. Kumsalimia Felix, kwenda kusalimia Felix, akamwambia hapana, mimi sitakusalimia. Akamwambia na sababu ya nisikusalimie, juu jana hukufanyia vizuri. Unaona? Hiyo tu wada ya kusema hukufanyia vizuri, ule kijana ndio akavua ile mavi ya baridi ya huyu Felix. Akaenda nayo kwa laini ya chai. Unaona? Felix kwenda kuifikia, huyu jamaa alimchapa mangumi. Unaona? Na kumshika koo. Akamkaba koo for a while. Ambapo hata Felix sasa hata ile kuanguka, sasa hewa ilikuwa imemuishia kabisa. Unaona? Kuanguka, alianguka tu na akanyamaza.
Alianguka wakati wanateleza kwa sababu ya mvua, akateleza akaanguka, akagongwa na ukuta. Akafaint. So wakabeba vijana 4 na headmaster, wakachukua wakapeleka Naivasha hospitali, mahali alifariki.
Former Brazilian soccer chief Jose Maria Marin pleaded not guilty to bribery charges in a U.S. court after being extradited from Switzerland in the corruption case that shocked the world soccer governing body FIFA. Well, Marin, who's 83, who headed Brazil's preparations to host the 2014 World Cup while president of the Brazilian Football Confederation, had bail set at $15 million and the judge ordered him placed under house arrest. Marin was among 7 officials from global soccer body FIFA who were arrested after being indicted on U.S. charges, an affair that has scandalized the administration of the world's most popular sport and upset powerful commercial sponsors. Authorities accused Marin of being among several high-ranking soccer officials who were due to receive $110 million in bribes for exchange of the media rights for regional tournaments. And that's where we wind up part 1 of KTN News Desk. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Betty Okari. Part 2 continues on KTN News Channel.